14th Amendment was to repair freed slaves, not a rhetorical device to erase Black America into an immigration debate. And that needs to be said.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine.
Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to another edition of the Publisher's Desk, powered by Black Westchester Magazine and blackwestchester.com. And brothers and sisters, man, we are at a crossroads where Black America has to stand up for itself, because there are those in the Black community and Black leadership and even Black clergy that are misguiding us to continue to be mental slaves to a political party, to a political thought. You know, I recently watched a video with Roland Martin, and really, to be honest, he was never on my radar until recently. And in the fight of freedom, justice, and equality for Black Americans, it's our responsibility to respond when Black voices are used to keep us mentally locked into systems that don't produce results, especially when the message is reinforced through influence, and especially when it comes from Black pastors. So, you know, Roland played a clip of Otis Moss. And out of respect, you know, I say this first. There was a few points made that sound powerful in what Brother Moss was saying.
A young Black man make a statement stating that he does not do politics, and then went on to say that he does not vote. Pained me to hear a person who benefits from our ancestral struggle claim he did not vote because it does not make a difference, according to him. This young man stating this ignorance with his full chest.
In my opinion, in my humble opinion, as a Black man, it's almost 60 years old, that is retired, did 33 years in law enforcement, he was wrong in his conclusions. The argument is simple, brothers and sisters. If you don't vote, you're giving away your power. And that our ancestors fought for this right, and not voting is a sign of ignorance. Now that sounds good, but when you examine the outcomes, that statement doesn't hold up. Yes, Black Americans fought for the right to vote. That's a fact. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 expanding protections and access. But here's the real question. What has that vote produced over time? See, because participation in the process is not power. See, for decades, Black communities have voted at some of the highest rates in the country, often giving overwhelming support to one political party. And in many cities, that same leadership has been in control for generations. So let's ask a logical question. If voting alone is power, why are the outcomes still the same in communities that vote the most? Struggling schools, high crime, low ownership, economic stagnation. At some point, you stop repeating history and then you start measuring results. See, this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable, brothers and sisters. Dr. Claude Anderson said something that cuts through the emotion. Black people say we're never going to get reparations. And then he said, that's right, as long as we keep doing what we're doing.
Budget put together. So Congress said, we don't have that kind of money. But Lincoln wanted to give reparations to Southern white plantations owners for any slaves they lost.
But in 1998, when blacks talk about reparations for free labor in slavery, they are virtually laughed to scorn. Why is that?
That's part of the hypocrisy in this country, because first thing, black folk never made it an issue. They keep thinking that they won't get it. Black people are the only group of people I know in this country who've labored and suffered and never got compensated for it. We've compensated American Indians now for almost 360 years with reparations. Whites got reparations, which they call freedom dues, and they came out of indentured servantship. Jews have gotten reparations. Jews have picked up over $52 billion since World War II. Japanese have gotten 3 or 4 reparations. They got $22,000 each starting in 1990 from the United States. They've also gotten reparations from 2 cities in California and the state of California. And Japanese Americans who moved to Latin America just came back into the country last year and picked up over $1 billion. The only people who've never gotten compensated is black folk. We even put money into Japan under what we call the .4 program, gave them $13 billion after we just got through bombing them. We also put another $14 billion into the Marshall Plan for Germans after we just finished bombing them. Black folk have never been compensated because black folk refused to make reparations an issue.
Think about that, because every other group that made their suffering a political priority got compensated. The Native Americans, Japanese Americans, the Jewish communities, even the white slaveholders got compensated. But black Americans, we got nothing. And the reason is simple. We never made it a non-negotiable political demand. Not speeches, not symbolism, leverage. Now let's correct something else. Birthright citizenship is being used in today's argument like it was created for modern political debates.
Black people have only been full citizens in this nation since 1964, the year the Civil Rights Bill was passed. This act ended legal state-sanctioned segregation. This act was part of a long battle that began when we arrived in this country. And for the purposes of this 5 minutes, I want to highlight several cases that shaped this battle. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision stated no black person had any rights a white person was bound to respect. This legal decision effectively stated black people were not citizens of the United States. Even if born free, we were not fully protected nor seen as human. In 1868, the 14th Amendment was passed. All persons born or naturalized are subject to the jurisdictions thereof. In other words, citizens. But the Confederacy and those descendants of the Confederacy wanted to find a way around this amendment. In 1882, they passed the Chinese Exclusion Act. No person from Asia could come to the U.S., and those who were already here could not be citizens. This was the argument that was used to create in 1896 what we know as Plessy versus Ferguson, separate but equal. The work of black, Native American, along with Asian people led to the 1943 repeal of the Chinese Exclusion Act. This victory provided legal and organizing energy for the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that gave us full citizenship. This timeline is about faith, moral courage, and politics. Politics literally means the affairs of the city. For those who say they don't do politics, to choose not to vote and not to be informed is to give your power to people who want to take your rights away. The Supreme Court recently heard a case from this administration that seeks to appeal or to reshape a portion of the 14th Amendment and put back in place a portion of the Dred Scott decision and the Chinese Exclusion Act based on their legal argument.
The 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution was created to correct a specific injustice. The Dred Scott versus Sandford decision said black people were not citizens and had no rights that the white man was bound to respect. That was what this amendment, the 14th Amendment, fixed. Birthright citizenship was put into place to guarantee formerly enslaved black Americans and their descendants would be recognized as full citizens. That's a historical fact. And when people ignore that context, they weaken their own argument. Let me deal with something deeper, brothers and sisters, because this is bigger than politics. It's about historical erasure. When people turn the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution into a generic immigration argument, they erase what is created in the first place. The the 14th Amendment was not written as an immigration policy. And this is where the pastor and Roland Martin and these educated black folks get it wrong. It was written as a corrective, a fix, a constitutional answer to the evil of Dred Scott versus Sandford. Like, the pastor brings that up, but he does not address the real issue of what it was for. Black people were declared outside of the protection of citizenship. Let that sink in. This amendment was written for the free slaves. It wasn't written for an immigration policy. It was written for our ancestors, the black people whose labor built this country, but whose humanity was denied. They wasn't thinking about immigrants. That is what birthright citizenship was addressing. So when this black pastor turns the 14th Amendment into an immigration talking point, whether intentionally or not, he is doing something very dangerous to Black America. He is helping to erase Black America from its own constitutional history. Because once you detach the amendment from the people it was written to protect, you reduce a Black historical claim into a broad political slogan. And I, and many Black Americans, reject that. Our ancestors were not immigrants coming through the port of entry. They were stolen people, and that is a difference, a profound difference. One story is migration, the other story is captivity. One came seeking opportunity, the other built opportunity for others under bondage. And if we blur those lines, pastors, Black politicians, Black leadership, Black educated elite, we erase our own history. See, that's not justice. That's a revision. And here's why it matters today. Black America are now at or near the bottom of too many outcome measures. We're at or near the bottom of every other ethnic group, the lowest wealth, some of the worst educational outcomes, disproportionate incarceration, disproportionate health disparities, and in many cases, politically undercompensated despite over-participation in one party. So how do you take a constitutional protection written specifically in response to Black oppression and turn it into a talking point disconnected from Black people? But you use our struggle to protect other people. That's not protecting our legacy, that's dissolving it. And I'm going to say something uncomfortable. When Black leaders do that, they help normalize the erasure of Black America. And we should challenge it, Black people, because truth matters, history matters, identity matters. The 14th Amendment was not passed to create an immigration slogan. What is this pastor talking about? It was passed to secure citizenship for formerly enslaved people. That distinction matters. And if we lose that distinction, we lose part of ourselves. The scriptures say in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Not lack of emotion, lack of knowledge. And some of what passing the political preaching today is producing the confusion instead of knowledge. Let's be clear again. The 14th Amendment was to repair freed slaves, not a rhetorical device to erase Black America into an immigration debate. And that needs to be said. Now let's be clear. Our ancestors didn't just vote. They organized, they protested, they negotiated, they applied pressure, they made demands. Voting was a tool. See, today we have reduced that entire strategy to just one. Just vote. Just vote against Donald Trump. See, But they tell us not to demand policy, not to measure outcomes, not to control funding, hold leadership accountable. See, that's the difference. They just tell us to listen and vote Democrat. But they don't want us to demand policy and measure outcomes and hold leadership accountable. See, when we do that, they push back and say, we are anti-Black, or we don't know what we're talking about, or you're MAGA, or you're supporting Donald Trump. And none of that is true. When Black people stand up and say they want something for our vote, they want tangible outcomes that they can measure. It's not being anti-Black. It's not being MAGA. It's just getting something for your vote, because politics is transactional. Because politics is a transaction sport. I give you my vote, you give me policy. Black community, we give you their vote. They talk about immigrants and migrants. We give you the vote. They don't recognize crime and violence that's in the Black community. We give you our vote. They don't push policies to create economic institutions in the Black community. We give you our vote. They give us failing schools. Our kids can't read or even comprehend, even graduating. See, here's something that nobody wants to talk about. If politicians know that they could get your vote no matter what, there is no incentives to deliver results. There's no pressure. There's no consequences. There's no accountability. Brothers and sisters, that's not power. That's the Black community being predictable. See, and we have to understand, even major legal victories weren't won through voting alone. Cases like Plessy versus Ferguson being overturned came through legal challenges, activism, and sustained pressure. Voting played a role, but it wasn't the all in all. See, but it's never strategy by itself, voting. So when someone says not voting is giving away your power, I challenge that and say blind voting is giving away your power. Voting without demands and giving is giving away your power. Voting without accountability is giving away your power. Voting for a political candidate without openly discussing the Black agenda is giving away your power. See, power is not in the act. Power is in the leverage. See, if we're going to vote, the question should be simple. What are we getting in return? What policies are being passed? What measurable improvements are happening? Because history doesn't just record that you showed up. It records what changes were made because you did. And that's it, brothers and sisters. If you like what you heard, please leave a comment, like, share the video. We have to have these conversations openly, and we got to challenge people that are pushing back on Black Americans, saying, we want policies before our vote. We want to see changes in our community. We know Trump is a racist, but there's just as many racist Democrats. But we still, for 90 to 95% being loyal to the Democratic Party, we want reparations on the agenda. We want good schools on the agenda. We want economic development in Black communities on the agenda. We don't want weak Black elected officials that will send millions and billions of dollars to other countries, but don't send that same money to the Black community. Enough is enough. And thank you again for watching. I'm Damon K. Jones, and this is the Publisher's Desk. Please go to blackwestchester.com. Black Westchester Magazine. It's the news with the Black point of view, and our new edition, e-paper. Because if you're not in Westchester County, the Bronx, and Connecticut, you ain't gonna get a copy. So just go online, it's up, and our new edition is out. and you can read the articles there and support. Thank you again. Stay blessed, stay safe, and stay blacktastic. Peace out.
Black Westchester's New Spring 2026 e-paper is now available. Featuring the life and legacy of Bob Law, breaking news, and stories that matter to our community. Read it now at blackwestchester.com. We appreciate you taking the time to engage with real conversations, real issues, and real perspectives that matter to Black America. Stay connected, stay informed, and as always, we'll see you next time at the publisher's desk. It's going to be Blacktastic. If you're serious about political clarity and independent thinking, this is for you. The Political Thought Bundle includes 3 full books, all personally signed. Democrats and Republicans, the Ultimate Gangbangers, breaks down how the two-party system operates like a legalized street war for power. Emotional Politics, Logical Failure exposes how emotion has replaced strategy in Black political engagement. Tolerance is for Cowards lays out a blueprint for extended policing and community-led public safety rooted in outcomes rather than slogans. 3 signed books. One bundle, $60. That's a $75 value, and you're getting signed copies included. This isn't left versus right. It's results versus rhetoric. Go to twosteppublishing.com and secure your signed Political Thought Bundle today. It's going to be Blacktastic. For more than a century, Black America built its own economy under segregation, under discrimination, and under conditions most people today cannot imagine. We built businesses, we built banks, we bought land and property. In The Forgotten Blueprint, Damon K. Jones reveals how Black communities created thriving economic systems from 1800 to 1965, and why that blueprint still matters today. This book challenges the idea that our future depends on politics alone, and shows how ownership, family, and enterprise once powered Black prosperity. The blueprint is not lost. We just stopped using it. The Forgotten Blueprint, how Black America built its own economy from 1800 to 1965. On sale now at Two-Step Publishing and Amazon. Black Westchester magazine has been giving our community a voice, reporting the stories others ignore, holding power accountable, and making sure the truth about our communities is told by us. But independent Black media only survives when the community supports it. If you believe in real journalism, community accountability, and keeping Black voices strong in local news, we need your help. Your donation helps us continue covering the stories that matter: politics, education, justice, and economic empowerment right here in Westchester. Support Black media, support Black truth, support Black Westchester magazine. Donate today and help keep Black media alive. Because Black-owned independent media is Blacktastic. Black Westchester magazine presents People Before Politics, the Sunday Rundown, every Sunday at 6 p.m. on YouTube. Join Damon K. Jones, A.J. Woodson, and Larnez Kinsey as they break down the biggest stories in politics, culture, and community from a Black point of view. No spin, no party loyalty, just logic, accountability, and outcomes. If it impacts Black America, we're talking about it. Tap in, subscribe, set your reminder. This Sunday at 6 p.m. is going to be Blacktastic.
This is the Publisher's Desk with Damon K. Jones, brought to you by Black Westchester Magazine, where life, culture, community, and faith meet truth, power, and purpose.